Was this the right move by the Giants? And are we going to talk a little bit of Hall of Fame? Did Russ play himself out of Canton?
I like that.
Meanwhile, Danny's top 10 teams. How far have the Chiefs climbed after beating a team that literally had to just bench their quarterback? They were so bad.
Or they forced him to the bench. Or they forced a fringe Hall of Famer out of the league. That's another way to look at it.
Write the script.
You do.
But right now, Ravens get run on and run over. Lamar had 3 touchdowns, not enough. Here he was after the game.
I feel like week 1 was a wake-up call. You know, not just this loss. Week 1 was a wake-up call. Last week was a wake-up call, you know, because we started off slow last week. And, you know, we got beat tonight. You know, Lions had a great game plan. I feel like offense and defense for those guys played great. We just got to find a way to win.
Okay, several wake-up calls there, Brew. Is it panic time in Baltimore?
Well, I'll say on that, Lamar does, and he did seem throughout the game frustrated. He sounds frustrated, which I kind of like. Like it's a freaking wake-up call, but all these other things have been too. I'm not panicked. Obviously, if they beat the Chiefs, I feel like, okay, everything is right in Ravens world. I'm sure they'll feel the same way. But there's a lot. I won't even panic, Danny, if they lose to the Chiefs because their division, Cincinnati, no Joe Burrow. Obviously, Cleveland's not good. Pittsburgh's not really that good. They should win the division, get in the playoffs. But for them, it's S-Bob, of course. And I'm not panicked about that, but that defense is not a AFC championship caliber defense. Last year, they improved greatly on the second half of the season. I thought they were going to come in this year and pick up where they left off last year defensively and be great. Yep. But they got a lot of work to do there. And what was alarming yesterday was the way they just were pushed around, which you rarely see the Ravens. They're one of the toughest teams in the league. You rarely see them pushed around. They couldn't run the ball. They couldn't stop the run. And that was alarming.
Some people said they looked like breakdancers. I mean, I wouldn't have done it, but some people said they looked like breakdancers.
I'm counting on the Ravens seeing that.
Oh, yeah.
And going into Kansas City and making amends for that. Yeah. But no, I'm not panicked, but there's a lot to be concerned about. There's no question.
Yeah, I wouldn't panic. We're pretty much aligned there because they've won double-digit games, 6 of the last 7 years. They're going to win the division. It feels like the floor here is the 3 seed in the AFC, and then we will just talk about them as like, okay, let's see if they can do it in January. To your point about the defense, though, what I would be fearing if I'm a Ravens fan is that last year was the best shot, where like the stars all aligned and the defense and the offense were both elite. Because you're right, the defense at the beginning of last year, and we can show it because it was awful. It was also stark, like in terms of it went from awful to the literal best in the league, and now it's back to being awful again. And last year the explanation was, well, they moved Kyle Hamilton around. Right. It took Nate Wiggins, their first-round pick, a little bit of time. They gelled and they
New D coordinator
because McDonald went to Seattle, exactly. But now, like, there's continuity there. And so is it just, Matabuke's injured and Van Noy's injured, and it's like should we be talking about the Ravens defense like we talk about the Chiefs offense? Well, when they get Worthy and Rashee Rice back, that's the same thing for the 2 top players on the Ravens. I don't know the answer to that, but I also know we won't get the answer till January.
Well, hold on. I think I know the answer to that because we saw the Ravens defense in week 1 with those guys. Let the Bills do whatever they wanted. And
that is the Bills. Weird things happen in week 1. Bills are an elite offensive team.
Well, right, but they got this is my frustration. So I am panicked for Baltimore. Mm-hmm. And people can say, Nick, it's a double standard between the Chiefs and the Ravens. For me, yes, 100% it is. And I think the Chiefs have earned it. And as far as what it would take for me to panic about the Chiefs being able to flip a switch in January is very different. And the Ravens have done the opposite of earn the benefit of the doubt. The Ravens are a team that could go 15-2 with the number 1 offense and number 3 defense, and there would still be a level of, I saw that once before. And so, yes, I do have a bit of a double standard here. But I also think that I don't know if we can show it or not, Dust, the Chiefs offense to the Ravens defense, because you kind of set up my point. The Chiefs offense has been mid. The Ravens defense has been awful. That's the difference. Like the Chiefs offense is, and we'll show it at some point, has is middle of the pack in everything, and the Ravens defense at the moment is close to last in everything, and then you add to it, so like that is different. It's neither is good, you know what I mean? But one is catastrophic and the other is disappointing, particularly given who your quarterback is. And you add that to the fact that, to me, and this was, I thought, apparent at the beginning of the game, they seemed pressed. Now, the Chiefs have seemed pressed, but the Chiefs were on the first 3-game losing streak the team had ever dealt with. You know what I mean? Since Patrick's been there, there were things going on. Lamar's body language immediately seemed odd for a team that was coming off a win and whose offense had scored 40 in both of their games. You know what I mean? Like they're right now they average 37 points a game. Yes,
like they're
right,
and they're 1-2. So, look, unless they lived in a hole, you would think they got to be feeling the heat. They know. You talked about last year being kind of things they were in a perfect situation.
It felt like
2 years ago too, when they lost to the Chiefs, they were in a perfect situation, right? And so the last 2 years they've kind of been right there, not played their best football in the postseason, with strange happenings, just a great tight end dropping a ball and a fumble by Derrick. Like all these things happening, they are definitely feeling the heat. Lamar probably is he's hearing the noise about you got to win a Super Bowl. You know, you don't do it in the playoffs, and Josh at least plays well in the playoffs. So I do think they're probably feeling the heat, and that's why they need to beat the Chiefs to just get some peace of mind.
Okay, listen, I buy that because they did look frustrated last night. But to your point on the double standard, Nick, like if you will have questions about them at 15-2, you also will have questions about them at 11-6. Oh, because like the question is,
no matter what,
the question is, can the Ravens play their best football in January for 3 or 4 consecutive weeks? That's the only thing that an SBOB team matters, right?
Yes, but the distinction is this. If they're 15-2 and the answer to that question is yes, then they win the Super Bowl. If they're 11-6, if you are a 15-2 caliber team and you play your best in the playoffs, you win the Super Bowl. The Ravens team that I have seen thus far this year at its best will not win the Super Bowl. You understand what I mean? Like if you're an 11-6 team, that you typically, your best is not good enough to get to the Super Bowl. And so I think that the Ravens right now, that Lamar is an unbelievable player, an all-time great. The rest of the team, it's like, wait, so why was he sacked 7 times?
Yeah.
And why is Derrick Henry, why for the first time in Lamar's career did they go back-to-back games without rushing for 100 yards? Right. The first time. And then we get to the defense, and then we get to the fact that the coach, it is pretty consistent to me that in these tight spots, and we talk game management stuff, the other coach does a better job than Harbaugh. Like I thought Dan Campbell going for that 4th down was something that it felt to me like in the flip side Harbaugh wouldn't have. And I'm not saying Harbaugh necessarily needed to go for his 4th. He had like 4th and 9 with 6 minutes left. I thought that was a borderline one. I'm not going to kill him for that. There's just a lot of pieces of Baltimore that through 3 weeks are alarming for a team that doesn't have the don't worry, we've been there before pedigree.
Brew, can I give you put one take on the take chip board? And I think I established that this was my take on the Ravens. I wouldn't mind if they didn't have home field advantage in the playoffs.
Well, luckily they're not going to.
Well, if they had a few rough losses and they didn't just have cruise control and it's like week 16 and we're like rest versus rust for the Ravens, they cruised, that they have some tough losses. They have to address some stuff during the season.
I think we talked about,
like Lamar knows, like, you know what? I'm not going to get sacked. I'm just going to take off now more. Derrick Henry gets another lesson, oddly, on ball security. That seems a little bit too elementary. But maybe it's just through the fire.
I think that's a good point. Like last year, they had very little adversity after starting 1-2. This year, some would help. But what would also help is beating an elite team. Like they've lost to Buffalo. They've lost to Detroit. If they lose to the Chiefs, they only got one more elite team on the schedule. That's another reason you don't need to panic. I mean, Texans now,
Oh,
the
that-
Rams, if you count the Rams. But look at the last two columns.
It's the Packers.
It gets
That's it.
light.
Yeah.
Right, like the
so
Bears,
that's an
the
interesting
Dolphins.
point, Brew. If they lose to the Chiefs, they won't have many opportunities to prove them
Yes.
that they're
Then they're
metal
all
against
bad losses.
great
I mean, the
teams.
Rams, is
Yeah.
kind of, but the Packers will be the last chance.
Yeah.
So, yeah, they
Caleb
need to
by
be
then
the
could
elite
be on
team.
like a 4 or 5
Oh,
game
that's
winning
true.
streak.
Yeah.
You gotta just-
Our guy.
gotta just
Me and
be aware of
Danny's
that.
guy. Yeah, that's true. Beating the Bears, it could be hard to do.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, the Lions moved to 2-1 with a complete game on offense and defense. Dan Campbell feeling caffeinated and great.
I don't know, statement, all this and that, but it just feels good to know against a type of team like that, you play a different type of game and you're able to find a way to win. So one of the things I mentioned early in this year is I told the team I want to find out how many different ways we can win games, because the better you get at winning, the more you win.
There we go. Did the Lions officially put the league on notice, Parkins?
I mean, if you haven't been noticing the Lions, I didn't need that game last night.
Oh, really?
Personally, I did.
Because you overrate the Bears.
No,
I don't think it has.
I mean, you thought them beating the Bears 52. Oh my gosh!
Wow, what can they do?
wow, it's rough.
I hadn't considered that.
Yeah.
Maybe that's there in the subconscious. No, listen, I've picked the Lions to represent the NFC in the Super Bowl now 3 consecutive years. Like, I feel like I was an early adopter.
Their Super Bowl pick this year?
They were my, Bills Lions.
Oh, I forgot. Okay, I had forgotten that.
Bills
All right,
Lions. So yeah, I didn't buy into the idea that they lost Aaron Glenn and Ben Johnson, they were going to deteriorate. Like, to me, the team you saw last night is the team that I feel like we as football fans were robbed of seeing in the NFC Championship game last year against Philadelphia. Like that team with Aiden Hutchinson, with a pass rush, with an elite offense, because their investments are more on the offensive side of the ball. But their blueprint is score a ton of points, play with a lead, and then get after the quarterback and sack you. And they were able to do it to Lamar Jackson, so I feel like they could do it to just about anybody. It's just some facts about the Lions. Most points in the NFL since 2023, the Lions. 3rd point differential team in the NFL since 2023, the Lions. Most yards since 2023, the Lions. Like they've been great for a while, and last year they just got very unlucky with injuries on one side of the ball. They were a 15-1 seed. So we don't talk about them as accomplishing a ton because they've been more of a regular season team. I understand that. But that was not shocking to me at all.
So listen, despite the fact that at the very end of yesterday's show, I picked the Ravens to win, about 2 minutes before kickoff, I like to bet what I'm rooting for at times.
Sure. Yeah.
And I was rooting for the Ravens to lose because it would be a better show and it's better for the Chiefs. So I bet the Lions and the over and then was sweating it in our gambling group chat that you guys are not in because you guys are not the gamblers of the show.
Don't you feel
It's
left
me,
out?
it's me, Danny, and Adam Lefko, to be totally honest. Just sharing different bets.
Sweating them
And that's what I was rooting for. It is not what I anticipated because, and this is where they did put me on notice, so to speak, the 2 things that I was most worried about going into the season this year was, with the changes at the interior of that offensive line, are they going to be able to run Dan Campbell's style of smash mouth football? Last night, they were as smash mouth as they've ever been. You know what I mean? Those 2 95-yard drives were unbelievable. I know one had the super long chunk play on a run, but the first one didn't.
Right.
And then the other one was, where is Jared Goff's mindset? Because where I